Today, we're diving into one of the most essential, and yeah, often one of the most controversial human rights, freedom of speech. It's supposed to be the bedrock of democracy, but honestly, it's a constant battleground all over the world. George Orwell just absolutely nailed it with this quote, didn't he? See, free speech isn't about protecting the easy, popular ideas that everyone agrees on. The real test, the true measure of it, is how we defend the speech that makes us uncomfortable, the ideas we really, really don't want to hear. And that's the tension we're going to unpack. Okay, so to really get a handle on this, let's start with the absolute basics. What are we actually talking about when we say free speech? At its heart, it's this: the right to think and say what you believe. It's about sharing information, it's about pushing for a better world, and yeah, it's about being able to disagree with people in power through peaceful protest, all without being afraid that you're going to be illegally punished for it. And, this isn't just some philosophical theory. It's an ideal that's literally written into international law. That means countries all around the globe have officially agreed to aim for this standard, even if the reality on the ground, well, it often falls away short. The language here from Article 19 of the UN Declaration is so specific and so powerful. Just notice, it's not just about speaking. It's the freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. I mean, that scope is just incredibly broad. But as we know, there's often this huge gap between the ideal we just talked about and the cold, hard reality. This right is constantly, and I mean constantly, under attack. So how does that even happen? Well, a lot of the time, governments will use these very noble-sounding excuses, things like national security or counterterrorism, to pass laws that are really designed to crush peaceful disagreement. And when people get locked up just for exercising their right to speak, they're often called prisoners of conscience. They're in jail not for a crime, but for what they believe. And let's be clear, this is nothing new. The fight to control information is pretty much as old as history itself. From ancient book burnings to today's internet blackouts, the tools change, but the goal of silencing voices that challenge the status quo, that stays exactly the same. This whole struggle has a very real, very human cost. And to really understand it, we need to look at the people who are right there on the front lines: journalists. 60. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many journalists and media workers were killed in a single year, 2020. They were killed for doing their jobs, for trying to tell the stories that we all needed to hear. And the threat isn't just a lethal one. It is a constant, relentless barrage of intimidation, of harassment, of being thrown in jail for no good reason, and even organized campaigns of lies designed to destroy their credibility and their work. And these threats, they take on different forms depending on where you are in the world. I mean, look at the Philippines, where the legal system itself is used to harass critics like Maria Ressa. Or in Myanmar, where journalists get thrown in prison just for investigating violence by security forces. In Iran, the repression can be as severe as execution. And then you have places like Tanzania, where new laws just hand the government direct control over all media. Today, the fight for free expression has moved onto a totally new front, one that affects every single one of us: the digital battlefield. So, states tend to use two big digital strategies here. Some, like China and Iran, they build these massive national firewalls, basically walling off their citizens from the global internet. And then others, like Egypt and Sudan, they go for a more direct approach. They just pull the plug. They shut down the entire internet to stop information from spreading during protests. For journalists, this digital world is just filled with dangers. They get targeted with state-sponsored spyware that can secretly turn on their own cameras and microphones. They face just relentless online abuse, with platforms like Twitter being called out for failing to protect women from unchecked violence and harassment. So yeah, it's a pretty bleak picture. But in the face of all these escalating threats, there is a pushback. So how is this fundamental right actually being defended? One real source of hope comes from coordinated global action. Back in 2019, UNESCO created the Global Media Defense Fund. It's a multinational effort supported by over 20 countries, and it directly funds nonprofits working right there on the ground to protect journalists and promote media freedom worldwide. And this brings us right back to the core principle, which is just perfectly captured in this famous quote attributed to Voltaire.
It is not about agreeing with what's being said, it's about an unshakable commitment to defending the right for other people to express themselves, no matter how much we might despise what they have to say.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. When we stand up for the right of someone to say something we find offensive or maybe just plain wrong, who are we really protecting? Is it just them, or is it the principle of liberty itself, the very thing that protects all of us?